I can tell you though, from a popularity standpoint, and that this isn't just Aaron Daly. There are a lot of people here in Omaha that know who WoodGrain.
Well, that's cool.
Is, right?
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not looking to grow like with taking on huge investors, and we're trying to do it organically and get every last thing we can out of what we have before we make that next step, because I think you lose something when you get too much bigger.
Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm Brian.
Mr. Producer Dolan on the Black Box today.
Hey.
And special guest, WoodGrain Brewing Company is here all the way from a different state.
Yes.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yep.
So, why don't you guys introduce yourself for us real quick?
I'm Steve Hartman, one of the co-owners and head brewer.
Awesome.
I am Quentin. I am the manager.
My name's Ryan, assistant brewer, head bartender, mopping aficionado.
Extraordinaire.
Nobody loves mopping.
Who cleans the bathrooms? Which one of you cleans the bathrooms?
Nobody.
No?
Good.
Okay, good. That's good.
They're
Because
not inside our facility a little.
Is it not? So talk about your facility a little bit. We'll get into this a little bit. But where's your brewery located in Sioux Falls?
Well, we're at the corner of 9th and Phillips downtown, right across from Wells Fargo. Basically, there's a bank on every corner, or there was. Right across from the hotel on Phillips. So if you go to Sioux Falls, stay there, run across the street, have a couple beers.
Get some beers.
Yeah. We're in actually an office building. It's a 5-story office building, basically. But first level's like mixed retail. And our bank is across the hall, so that's nice.
Easy.
We have a little sandwich shop, smoothie shop across the hall. So if people are hungry, they can get a sandwich to go. You can bring in anything you want, actually, just like most breweries. And we're a little 5-barrel brewery, about 2,400 square feet. About 800 of that is brewery. So we're cramped in there pretty tight.
When did you start? Like, when did you open?
We opened September of 2015, so we're coming up on 5 years this year.
Gotcha.
And trying to figure out what we're going to do exactly to celebrate that, but we've got a lot of beer in the cellar, so we might just do a big blowout.
Do you know already what you're going to do?
We're going to close, I think.
I have a general idea, but I don't have it all planned out just yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's a little time.
Yeah, a little bit of time still. So, all right, let's open up one of these beers. Apparently, so we've got some Growlers here.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's some sort of trick, because anybody that's listened to the show before knows
Rich spills when he pours.
every single time.
Yeah.
Every time. All right, so what's the... Give me
We got to.
the
Yeah, we better
trick
see
here.
how
What's
this
the-
works.
Go explain that right now.
How's this work?
Sure. Here, I'll pivot this over if you don't mind.
There you go.
Nice.
Crowlers usually get filled all the way to the top. No, just like any beer can.
Right.
No headspace. And, big wide mouth, it's kind of spreads out when it's poured. So usually you just tip it back, turn it backwards, and pour it out like this so it doesn't spill.
Even with the tab, it doesn't.
Nope.
It doesn't spill.
And then it's just that little initial amount, and then you're good after that.
That's just for the first pour.
Just for the first second or two. Yep.
So when Aaron Daly comes back from these places and he brings Growlers and we open them after lunch, of course.
Of course.
He always makes me pour the first one. Always.
He knows that.
But he didn't know. He didn't tell me the trick. So sometimes it's running down my elbow. Sometimes I have to,
It's on all the papers on your desk.
Yeah.
Then Kiana gets mad because...
all my paperwork smells like beer. We're sending files to the hospital. It's got Pilsner all over it. That's tough, but somebody's got to do it.
Okay, so I've heard this before. I've heard this from my friends Bobby and Scott. They're a cross-strain. Pilsners are maybe one of the easiest beers to make, but maybe one of the most difficult to make as well.
Yeah, it's true. They're very simple constructed beer. This one was built with one hop, one malt, and then yeast in the early days, and now we've added one more malt. There's 2 different hops. But it's basically all fermentation and keeping it as clean as possible. There's nothing to hide behind.
Still spilled some.
You still, after the third pour.
It's like a curse, right? It's like a
My
curse.
goodness.
It just happens. Yeah. Yeah, that's Bobby had told me that before. Like that's to make a good clean Pilsner is probably one of the most difficult things to do in all of brewing. Like that is super hard.
So what do you think? Smells great.
That's delicious. There's some nice bitterness at the end.
Yeah, this one's
Dolan. Every time he does it.
this one's actually we use just some Warrior for bittering. It's just a nice bittering hop. And then we use some local Mount Hoods grown just right outside of Sioux Falls from Herds to Hops. They're doing a great job. Packaging facility, everything. They're just kind of getting their stride going now with all their just got a building put up and everything, freezer space.
How much local can you buy when it comes to this?
We can buy, it's your usual like Cascade, Centennial, but there's one hop called Michigan Copper that's actually in our house IPA that you have a crowler of over there. And that one has like some juicy fruit character. It's becoming a pretty sought after hop. It's going for about $25 a pound.
Jeez.
Luckily we can get it for 16 to 18 direct from the farmer. So,
Nice.
but resale value is pretty high, which we don't resell hops, but yeah, it's a nice hop, something new.
So, where'd the name Woodgrain come from?
Well, I've spent most of my life, about 20 years in woodworking, grew up in the cabinet making business. My dad has a shop. I started working for him when I was 12. And
Okay.
so that was just a name that I had an idea for. And I have two business partners, Jason and Ryan. And we all kind of went with it, just the double meaning of grain. So you got grain and wood and grain and beer. And just crafting something beautiful from grain.
Interesting.
It sounds like they put some thought into that.
Little bit,
That's
yeah.
that's different than the fart joke brewery we had last week. Who farted?
That's a good brewery, though.
Yeah,
It was a good
a good
brewery.
beer.
I would argue some thought went into that one as well.
Yeah, some 8th grade thought. I love it. It's like my favorite kind of humor. So
Still some thought, though, right?
yeah,
Right. Okay, so let's talk about you and your business partners. Like, how did you guys meet in the first place? And then we'll talk about how you met these guys too.
Well, oddly enough, we all met at church.
Which
One of
is-
the reasons I like that church.
That's
Everybody
not
drank
the
beer.
typical way
No.
that those guys meet. All right.
No, of course we never brought beer into the church. Of course we never did that.
right.
No, never.
But no, I just was talking about brewing, and Jason, we were at some men's bowling thing or something, and he was talking about how he brewed, and it sounded different than what I was doing, which was extract. And I got bored after a couple batches, and he invited me over and hung out and saw these guys using coolers and toilet hoses, and I'm just like, what in the world? Okay. I don't know what the heck you're doing, but so I was just fascinated by it and kind of got to know them and kept hanging out and brewing beer. And once they had always talked about opening a brewery as well, and I just never wanted anything to do with it. And then my third partner, Ryan, he's more of the money guy, so he does like all the books, background money. Pretty much lets me do whatever I want money-wise, which is nice.
So why didn't you want to in the first place? Like, what was?
I just didn't know how, wasn't interested. I wasn't completely disgusted with my career at that time. I was in finance at the time.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then we kept going to this winery down in Inwood, Iowa, and really liked it, my wife and I, and finally we were on a road trip up to Minneapolis, and I said, hey, what do you think about opening a little brewery? And she's like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
So, got the go-ahead from day one, and yeah, that was 2013. So 2 years later, we finally opened.
So how did you guys get hooked up with them then?
Oh, man.
You want to go first?
Long story. Yeah, I'll go first. So this is
Leave
quick.
the dirty stuff out.
Yeah. So
No, we need listeners. So you can be dirty if you want.
Salacious tales, even
Totally.
if they're not true.
Right.
So I actually have a extensive background in retail management, and at the time I was working for a place called Total Wine. I think you guys have those out here, and I ran kind of like their craft beer part of it. And that was in Las Vegas, and I was looking to move back to Sioux Falls, believe it or not, after being gone for about a year, because Vegas was not the same city it was when I was growing up there. So basically I kind of looked around to see what breweries were hiring. WoodGrain was hiring at the time, looking for a manager. I put in an application, interviewed, went well, offered me the job. That was, I don't know, you guys have been open for, I don't know, 8 months maybe, once I started. Something around there.
Something like that.
Something around there. Anyway, so I kind of go back to that. I've been a part of WoodGrain for about 4 years now, so just been kind of doing a little bit of everything. Literally, everything.
That's kind of what you have to do when a brewery gets started, right? I mean,
It's been 4 years.
You're the
Yeah.
No, but so yeah, I'm the manager. I do kind of a little bit of everything, and except for the brewing part, I leave that to the guys that know what they're doing. I've helped out, but nothing.
You don't have
crazy.
any desire to get in there? And
No, not really. No,
No?
I think I do enough as it is, so
No.
I'm good. But yeah, so that's just kind of where I met Steve and Jason and Ryan, and then a few years later, the guy next to me here, I brought him on board, and I'll let him share his wonderful story.
How far do I go back? Do you want me to go,
Back
like-
to when you were about 8 years old, as a
Okay.
little boy, you aspired to be an assistant.
I'm from Wyoming, so I'm not from South Dakota. I lived in South Dakota for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Met my wife on a dating app. Here, I got to get closer, don't I?
You
Sorry.
can, yeah.
I have no background in brewing. I used to do a little bit back home. I worked in the oil field for 10 years, pillaging the lands of North Dakota. I hated
Yeah.
it the entire time.
Yeah.
Needed something to change, and they laid me off when oil kind of fell through the floor price-wise. So I took 6 months off, back and forth from Wyoming to South Dakota, starting this dating thing. She knew somebody who started a different brewery in Sioux Falls. I moved there, started working there. After about a year and a half, things weren't working out. I frequented WoodGrain quite a bit when I wasn't working. One day I just sort of spit out that I was looking for something different, and Quentin gave me the opportunity to kind of talk about a job.
So you're just hanging out, drinking their beers, and we're like,
Yeah,
You know.
I'm not the first one who got a job there just by drinking
No,
there either.
Most of my bartenders were regulars at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you got to know what you're selling, right?
Right.
You got to know the product
Right.
and the people.
So I've been there for almost 2.5 years now.
yeah.
Started off as a full-time, bartender, and now I assist brew and kind of run the pack there as far as bartending goes.
What made you think like I really want to be a brewer? Like I want to give this a shot.
Well, I'm not a desk job guy. I've always gotten dirty doing what I do. I'm sort of a blue-collar worker. I'm not afraid to get dirty or kind of bust it. So it just
Sure.
seemed like the right fit. Plus, I like beer.
See, I like beer too, but I don't think I could brew it though.
I
Even
kn-
like homebrew, like I don't even think I could do that.
I know I can. I just don't have the patience.
Nope.
Or the science
Right.
understanding.
It takes
Patience,
a-
science.
It takes a fastidious person to sort of be able
Yeah.
to do that.
I can't even say that word. There's no way I'm brewing beer.
That's how I know I'm not brewing beer.
Yeah.
So
I just go and buy it.
our boy Dolan's from Wyoming here. He
Yeah, what part are you from?
I reside from Casper, Wyoming.
Okay, I grew up in Gillette.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of two places.
one exactly.
Those are the spots.
That's really about it. Nah, what's the one down south? What's
Cheyenne?
There we go. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I drive by there and go to the bathroom on the way to Colorado.
It is a
Oh
big
my gosh.
bathroom.
It is,
Cheyenne is a big bathroom.
Yep.
Best
He-
one.
and he can say that because he's from there,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because
So,
my high school played their high school, that stuff.
damn,
That's
yeah.
how it goes.
Dolan has told us how awesome Wyoming is, and just shared the fun
No,
of.
he lied to you, man.
Yeah.
He lies to us a lot.
I'm just kidding.
So, okay, so we kind of figured out like where it all started. Like, at what point did you think, as you're going, like, oh shit, like we're on to something, like this is a real thing, right? I mean, this is just, it's not just I'm going to start a little brewery. You're much more than
Yeah.
a little brewery now.
We're still about the same size we were, actually. We haven't grown too much. We just added 2 tanks, 2.5 years ago, 2 10-barrels. So
I can tell you though, from a popularity standpoint, and that this isn't just
Yeah.
Aaron Daly. There are a lot of people here in Omaha that know who WoodGrain.
well, that's cool.
is, right?
That's
I
good
mean,
to hear.
that's- yeah.
And that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not looking to grow like with taking on huge investors, and we're trying to do it organically and
Sure.
get every last thing we can out of what we have before we make that next step, because I think you lose something when you get too much bigger. And I have nothing. There's really nothing wrong with making people seek out your product. If they're serious, they'll come get it
Yeah.
within reason.
I think that's true. Especially in this sort of
Yeah,
area
I mean-
and field.
Right.
Retail distribution. There's so much shelf space now that's being fought for, and it's just hard to get there. But if people really want your product, they'll drive an hour, 2 hours, or find people that live nearby and trade.
let's. I got a couple questions. You got more on yours things?
No, go for it.
I just want to know.
I want to open another beer, actually.
One of our
Okay.
you work on that. One of our research topics has always been just why people start breweries and work there and all that stuff. What's the worst thing about working in a brewery?
Cleaning, honestly. Like our tanks, I guess they're kind of built for winemaking, cider making. They don't have the ports and cleaning, CIP cleaning ports and things that our big tanks have. And so that makes it a little bit more difficult. You actually have to get in there sometimes and kind of scrub, which isn't really good for the inside of the tanks unless you're super careful. But yeah, it's just all the cleaning gets tedious, you almost get lost in you're on cruise control, so it's easy to miss something unless you kind of wake yourself up from it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, right now we're in the middle of just doing an intense cleaning on our tanks and just making sure they've been at it straight. We pretty much have not had an empty tank since we started.
Yeah.
And if we do, it's only for a few days. And I'm flipping out if we do, because it's like, oh, there's something I could be making because I have so many things I still want to do.
Right.
And yeah, but it's just cleaning, and I'm sure Ryan will get sick of it too. But it's part of the job, and that's the important part of the job. If you don't keep it clean, the beer will suffer.
So, like, attention to detail, I assume, has to be high, because like if you make just an error, one small error, you don't want to dump a whole batch of beer. Mm-hmm. So.
No, you
Is
don't.
there any we safeguards in place? How do you make sure you're following your procedure that you would want it to be?
Just try to keep an eye on things. Rhino's luckily like a brother from another mother. He's keeps an eye on everything. I can turn my back and I know for darn sure it's going to get done right and clean. And that's true of everything. Tap room, like, shined up when he leaves for the day. So that's priceless. That's peace of mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, just inspecting after somebody's done cleaning. If somebody else does it, just taking a look. And even if I do it, I hope he's looking, right behind me, because I could miss it too if I get lazy and just sick of it. You're like,
sure.
Can I get one day where I don't have to clean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just putting, and maybe some of it is like a copy of a copy is no good. So you at the top have to be so precise and clear about what you want, so the next person down does it right 95% of the time.
Sure. And everybody's always watching.
Yeah.
Like whether it's on purpose or not, but everybody soaks up what the top people are doing, I think.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we drinking? This is amazing.
Okay, I actually wrote this beer down because I was hoping we would
Was
have
on
it.
the wish list?
It was on the wish list. The Carnivale IPA, the one that you make you get pineapple from a restaurant?
Yeah, we do.
Talk
There's
about
a
that.
Carnivale Brazilian Grill in Sioux Falls. When they opened, first of all, when the building went up, I'm looking over like, what in the world? It's got like a spiral on top out of like stucco.
Oh.
And so we went there, and the owner actually is a neurologist. And so we went there.
Interesting.
My wife works at the hospital, so got to go there for free because there was a neuro party. And it's basically all you can eat, Brazilian grill. So they'd cut it right off of the skewer, lamb, steak, chicken. And then they bring out this pineapple, and it's coated in cinnamon and sugar, and it's rotisseried and roasted, and it's just amazing. And so I kept kind of being, man, they only have like 4 taps. Over the years, I'm like, God, what can I do? Can I make a papaya beer? I figure out a way to get in here because it's one of my favorite spots in town.
Uh-huh.
And then out of the blue, the manager just said, hey, we got all this leftover pineapple. Do you guys want to try to make a beer? And I'm like, what am I going to do with the scraps?
Yeah.
So went in there, met with them, and they were talking about a blonde or something light. And I'm just like, you know what, guys? I got an IPA sitting in the tank right now. It uses Azacca and Eldorado hops, which are tropical. Let's take some pineapple, throw it in. Let's do about a pound per gallon. And we did, and we haven't changed the recipe since.
Nice.
That's not true. The last batch, we made a very small tweak. But
Aaron said there was a milkshake version of it, too.
Yep. Just for fun, we did a Carnivale milkshake, so vanilla beans and lactose. And actually, it was pretty amazing, the difference that the lactose and vanilla beans made on the smoothness and the drinkability and just creaminess. So this has a little bit of bite yet. That one had a little less bite, and then the brand new batch that'll come out here probably by the weekend should have less bite and way more pineapple and cinnamon flavor just from some changes that we made.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
I know. I think what we're drinking is amazing here.
Yeah,
This is
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, I'm never satisfied. So even if it's good, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
That's one of the keys to innovation,
Right?
Right,
Yeah.
especially as in the brewing.
Never rest on what you got, right? I mean,
I think if we found specific breweries around here that rest, and some of them aren't open anymore. You
That's
know?
true.
So like the people that are coming for this stuff, they want new things. They want hot bombs. They want something that they can't get down the street. So I
Right.
think that's important. At least as far as I'd never drink the same beer twice in a row. Never.
Yeah.
At home, anywhere.
I've been starting to buy 6-packs, but for a long time, I would not buy a 6-pack. I wouldn't even buy beer in the store. I just go have a beer at the bar, try something new. I wouldn't get it again.
Yeah.
And that's even true of our own stuff. Like there's very few of our beers that we serve that I have a lot of. I just try it once and then I'm like, okay, it's good.
So
And then I might try it halfway through just to make sure the quality's still there. But
quality check.
Yeah.
You got to
Yep.
check the
You do,
quality.
of course.
You know, taste test, I would say.
Yeah.
Another question I had, and this is probably for this side of the table, but as far as customers and repeat customers, because like at least here in Omaha, we've got a lot of breweries, and you'll see the same dudes at other places. Do you have a lot of the same people? Is it like a regular bar for folks now, or do you see the same faces on the same days, that sort of stuff?
You want this one, maybe?
I see several of the same people on a regular basis all the time. I see those same people at other breweries though.
Yeah.
People are they are nomadic. They just move around. They try new things. All the breweries are coming out with new stuff. I mean, there are 5 or 6 new breweries in the last year.
Yeah.
3 of them being downtown. You're going to see a lot of the same people. And at the same time, I'm still surprised after almost 5 years, there are new people that have not even heard of us that live in Sioux Falls.
Yeah. That's kind
It's a little bit of both, really.
yeah, we don't outside of social media, we don't advertise a whole lot. So it's a lot of word of mouth, and so we're bigger probably in the craft beer nerd scene, so to speak.
Yeah. That's a good scene.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's
No.
nothing wrong with that. And especially if you're doing stuff like, I wouldn't say the Carnivale Ipa is too crazy out of the.
No,
you
it's
know,
probably
but-
actually pretty approachable for people who don't
Absolutely.
normally drink them. So.
Right.
No,
You
I
got
should
some-
mention we get the pineapple exactly as it's carved off at your table.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's a lot of labor that goes into it. So to scale it up would be difficult and probably not something we want to do. So it'll always be a small batch,
Difficult,
unless
yeah.
we find out another way to do it. But
Which is still, I mean, it still kind of makes it what it is, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you tried to scale it up, it would be very.
yeah,
so you
we
would what?
you'd have to-
Extract at some point?
Yeah.
You'd have to get away
No.
from
Oh,
the
no, no,
actual
no.
thing, right? So you don't want to do that.
I hate extract. I have used it a little bit just to add a little tiny hint of flavor and aroma.
Mm-hmm.
But because after talking to a pretty popular brewery in Florida, sometimes what you're smelling is also what you're going to taste. And people like strawberry that you get in a candy is not the same as the strawberry you eat off the vine.
Sure.
So people associate strawberry to that candy flavor. And then when it doesn't taste like that, they're like, oh, this is gross.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost have to. And strawberry is so delicate anyway; it's really earthy. So when you add just a tiny little bit of that strawberry, it comes through. But with the Carnivale, we would, first of all, they'd have to be willing to slice about 100 cases of pineapple for us.
Jeez.
Right now, they're slicing about 15 cases when we do this beer.
Yeah.
Hand sliced, rotisserie, sliced again. You know, they just skin off the outside layer. So I mean, it's huge. But then we'd almost have to puree it, which we could do. It adds another step.
That's another one. Yeah.
Because, slabs of pineapple in your fermenter aren't exactly easy to get out unless you put them in bags, which we do.
See, this is the part I wouldn't even know.
How do you
wouldn't
account for the
understand.
extra sugar?
Yeah.
We just measure the gravity before and after we put the fruit in.
Yeah, that was the first time I made a homebrew beer with my brother. He does it a lot, brother-in-law, but we did some pineapple, and we thought it was going to be so great. And then we were like, oh, we didn't actually account for that sugar. And then we had pineapple beer on our ceiling, so that was not great.
Yeah, it only
Pop
goes
some
up.
bottles.
Only goes up a couple points, but it ends up being probably 0.5% in the back end, or almost 1%, I guess.
So from a brewer standpoint, when like this is the philosophy of the company, right? We're not gonna use anything artificial or whatever. Does that limit you on that? Do you think, or does it give you more freedom because you understand? Okay, this is how I have to operate.
I just know how much work it is involved, and to sort of sacrifice all that work just to make something easy and just dump a little bit of extract. It doesn't seem like it's even worth it at that point. I don't know. It doesn't calculate into the work for me, so I don't really. I don't see it happening either with him.
Yeah, I mean, we do a couple things. Like we have a French toast milk stout that we could do it with cinnamon vanilla beans, and we actually have a cinnamon vanilla stout coming out for Valentine's Day or around that time.
We do.
There is no extract. It's cinnamon and a ton of vanilla beans.
Wow.
But we just do the extract. I just did it for fun because I was using the stuff that brewery in Florida that I've become friends with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they use sometimes. So I'm like, oh, let's try it. But people love it. And I'm like, what did I do?
Well, yeah, on one hand, you got the business, and the other hand, it's like your personal integrity of brewing, and sometimes they don't meet.
When you can move a 5-gallon keg in a night because they love it, it's like, oh, well, okay.
We don't do it that often.
Exactly. It's every now and then. I prefer
Helps
not
pay
to.
for the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does it remind me of one here in Omaha? I don't.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so you mentioned a bunch of breweries have opened just recently there in Sioux Falls. How is that competition? Has it changed you guys, or like what has it done to your business?
I know for me, it just the one that I really, just being honest here, the one that really made me worry for about a day was Lupulin moving in because they're pretty big. People know them as quality, great IPAs, stouts. I'm like, well, okay. Now we really got to be on our game. And we don't have the marketing budget they have. They're way bigger than we are. They're doing 10 times the beer that we're doing. They're packaging. We're just little old Woodgrain with doing kegs, and we're around Sioux Falls and eastern South Dakota. But then once I got rolling, they fit in nicely, and the guys that own it and the crew there are super nice, and they've been a great part of the scene in Sioux Falls. And yeah, I mean, no worries there whatsoever, but it's just one of those things. I mean, then we had Looks open, Severance, bunch of other ones, and
Covert.
all nice guys.
Covert,
Covert's doing very unique stuff, and it's awesome to have them in town. But yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of got their thing, and I think I feel like one of the biggest compliments that we received lately was Jack from Mardo came up out of Sioux City, and he said, "You guys do everything you do well. Like, it's not very often we go somewhere and there's a great IPA, and then the stout is also mind-blowing. Like, you guys do everything really well." So that, to me, I was like, I really appreciated that. And just trying to get better as we go.
Oh, nothing.
I've talked to some folks down, specifically in Lincoln. That's where I'm from. So those are the places I haunt. And
White Elm. There
yeah,
we go.
I saw his White Elm.
Yeah.
Sure. So a lot of places, especially I don't know, even in Omaha too, to extent, breweries known for making IPA, right? And then some of the other ones that are open after them are like, well, we're not even going to mess with that. We'll just do these other styles. And I don't know. So, I mean, sometimes that works out that way, but I don't know. I like to go to a place that's going to have more than one style. You know what I mean? And I'm always looking for hops and stouts and that sort of thing. So whenever Aaron is going to make a run to Woodgrain, he always asks, so, do you want anything? Of course I say, yeah. I do.
Always. Yes.
I say, like, some of the other breweries, too, not everybody's doing the New England style, up to where I think the standard has grown, which you look at Treehouse, you look at some of these bigger Modern Times, whoever it is, doing an insanely good job. And then some of these other breweries are making them and they're good, but then they're also making a West Coast or a old school East Coast. And there's still people out there that want that stuff. So that's the nice thing too, is that you may not find what you're looking for at one. You can go down the street and know that you're going to find something more malt forward or sweeter.
Yeah.
They're still out there, and that's good. So
that's the fun of looking too. That's the fun of being a customer that he recognizes at other breweries too, because you can make your rounds and you have release days and all that sort of stuff. It's just fun to be connected in those sort of communities, I think.
Like our text conversation from the other day when you were at the other brewery, and I said, "What are you doing there?" You're like, "Well, because you got this and this."
Yep.
I would never even have thought of that.
Yeah.
That's I figured you were that close, you would have gone to this one instead.
Yeah.
And you were at that one, so
yeah. Depends on who you're with sometimes, too.
I guess so, yeah. So, okay, so this is the only way I've ever had your beer is in Growlers here.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to package?
We were kind of working on a production space, then we kind of put the brakes on it. Just looking at the market, we're trying to figure out what is the best way forward, what makes the most sense for us. I would love to see a 12-pack of Veneer pills. That might happen by the end of the year. I don't know. We'll see what
Cans?
happens.
Like
cans.
cans,
yeah.
okay.
But we're just trying to figure out, do we want to spend $1.2 million to make a fifth of the money? Wholesale's no joke. Your costs got to be in line. Like, you got to have that stuff dialed in. So we're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense. Keep, maximum profitability versus how much beer you're putting out. Is the quality going to change? Yeah, hopefully we'll have an answer here this year. But
I think we've seen recently, there's been an explosion, right? In the last 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
And we're now starting to see it, some places come back down. We've had a couple of closers in Omaha and in Lincoln. Some places have expanded probably too quickly and are making too much beer, and now they can't even get rid of the beer they made. So it's smart to, take your time.
yeah, we may have an opportunity in Sioux Falls to. It's kind of a mix of between gypsy brew and contract brew. So
That was my next question. Like, is there, from like a co-packing standpoint?
Yeah.
Like, I'm familiar with that. Does that exist in brewing too?
yeah, there's contract brewing, and some breweries get their start that way, and that's fine. But if you can be present at the facility and almost help them make it and supervise it and make sure it's actually being done the way you want, I think that adds a new element to that contract brew, where the hybrid gypsy / contract is more attractive than just letting a far off brewery that's a state or two away make your product.
Yeah.
And you have really some control over it, but if somebody makes a 100-barrel batch for you and it's garbage, and you say, I don't want it, do you think they're really not going to fight you on that? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
Yeah.
or, hey, we ran out of Citra hops, we're just going to use this other hop. You're like, no, that's not the deal. So I've heard of things like that happening, and that I just don't want to deal with that.
That'd be tough.
So I assume you're, from what you're saying there, you're kind of protective of your recipe, right? So it's made a certain way, and that's how you would want to make it. So how do collabs work? Like, do you go into it thinking, hey, this is a style that you guys make, and we make similar sort of thing. Let's try something there, or do you want to make something that's totally different? What is the mindset? Because we're starting to see those here around Omaha,
A lot.
and even national ones that you can go buy at the grocery store seems to be a new thing. So, what's the mindset there?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. I mean, for me, it's what's going to sell fast, what's going to draw attention and make this worth doing. Because if you just go in and make, like we were joking on the way down, we were going to talk to Bobby. Let's just do a common and barrel age it in a gin barrel and add honey and coffee to it. Like, who's going to drink that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to drive to go get that. But if we talk about doing like a really beautifully made adjunct stout with coffee and chocolate and all that stuff, it's been done, but it hasn't been done by them or us or whatever. Just taking elements that you both have, do it well, combine them, maybe learn something from each other. We did a collab with Zipline a few years ago. It's just a wheat wine. We've never made one. They're not that popular.
I have a bottle of it still in my fridge, by the way.
So we did a barrel-aged version. We did the coffee version was the most popular. So we added like coffee that we brewed on our system. And that it worked out really well. Tom came up, and I was nervous. I'm like, what in the world? Tom's here from Zipline. Like, these guys are way bigger than we are.
Yep.
He's been around. He's a smart guy, super nice guy.
He's one of the most coolest, approachable guys that you'll meet, though.
And he even said, geez, I like your little system. And, man, I learned this. I didn't know this. And I'm like, wait, you just learned something? Like, that blew my mind. So I guess you just never know. Just do your thing, and hopefully somebody can learn something. And, so open mind.
So the cat's out of the bag.
Oh, okay.
Because he said it, right?
Yeah,
I wasn't going to say it.
I
wasn't going to.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, there we go. Then we're not going to say it then.
I think we should open one more of these.
We should.
Which one are we going to do?
I can tell you this, and here's what we're guilty of. We are super guilty of drinking a beer and gushing over it.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do when they're like sitting right here.
A little bit.
Just gushing.
But for to be fair, a lot of the stuff we get is good stuff too.
That's true.
Like, we are getting Treehouse once in a while, and we are,
Right.
we're getting White Elm Stouts or, whatever. So, like, we're not just drinking shelfies a lot of time on this show.
I'd put this up against any IPA we've
Dude,
got.
I love it.
This is really
It's
good.
so fruity and pineapple.
Really. Oh, the
Amazing.
pineapple is fantastic.
Yeah, and it doesn't have
You
that.
should love this, right?
I love it a lot.
Right.
So you're a pineapple guy, and it doesn't have that sometimes that fakey pineapple-y aftertaste that you
Right.
get on some other things,
Yeah.
like that.
Okay,
that one you brought home.
Yeah, from Vegas.
Yeah.
From where?
Still.
Love Lady.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a different
As-
pineapple flavor
You're
than this
from
one.
Vegas, okay? Vegas is a beer wasteland. Craft beer wasteland.
That's what he says. I tried to
I
convince
can
him
say it.
otherwise.
I can
I wouldn't
say
say that, but
it is.
There's-
There's
there's-
nothing good there.
there's just too many breweries out there right now.
And not enough good ones.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
depends
you
where
got
you look.
you have to know where to go.
Okay.
To be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, and that's that Love Lady Brewing Company, Ninth Island. It wasn't terrible.
they're fairly new though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they haven't grown.
So, you're going to be in Vegas soon, right?
Not till September. No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if you're in Vegas or going to Vegas, where would you say we should go and get some beers?
Yeah. Where should I go?
Big Dogs is a good spot. They actually just won a few gold medals.
There you go.
Joseph James is always good. Banger.
Banger.
good.
That's the one I was
you
trying
go
to sell him
Yeah.
on.
That's the one you go to.
I spent many hours there watching football a couple
They
weeks
do a
ago.
lot of very traditional beers, but they do them really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
There we go. Okay, then we'll do that when we go.
Yes. I'm telling you.
I
it's
want
right
to
in
be
your area
wrong.
down there.
I want to be wrong.
You are. You
Because
just
some
don't
of the
know it
best
yet.
meals I've ever ate are in Vegas, right? I mean,
Well,
that's,
yeah.
they go all out for
Yeah.
that. Why don't you go all out for beer then? Some of the best wine I've ever had has been in Vegas. Now it's not from Vegas, obviously, but I've
Yeah.
had it there.
Well, I guess it's all about dollars
Why do I have to drink Blue Moon when I go to Vegas?
because that's what 90% of the people
all
drink.
but that's all you can get.
Well, you can get Lagunitas some places, and
There's some pretty good craft beer bars there too.
yeah,
Never been there.
Homeschool, I think it's called.
Where's it at?
The place. It's way on the west side by Red Rock Casino.
I was just out there. Son of a bitch.
see, next
Yeah,
time,
I was just there. Oh well.
next time we'll get you.
Dolan, is this a beer that you could get Sam to drink?
No, absolutely not.
There's nothing
I'm
I
telling
mean,
you.
I mean this with all due respect. As someone who did not like IPAs before, right? This is a gateway IPA because this doesn't have the bitterness of an IPA that you would think normally, right?
Well, and let's go back to episode 1 where I was against all
Yeah.
IPAs.
True.
Period.
Right.
You
Right.
threatened to quit the show,
Right.
Feels like yesterday.
That's
Nice.
it
There
right
it
there.
was,
Right.
yeah.
That,
That was
was
the first one.
that was the gateway.
Really?
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
That
Let me
was
tell
mine
you, I've converted a lot of so-called non-IPA drinkers with that.
with that,
beer
and I
right
see
there.
how you could. It's
Yep.
so pineapple forward. There's good sweetness to it. There is no bitterness necessarily. I mean, there's some, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a different.
Yeah,
It's not like Odell.
Yeah.
And I love Odell beers, but holy shit, there's some bitterness to some of those.
I'm pretty sure that Aaron Daly brought this one back before.
He
'Cause
might have.
It's very familiar, and I love it the second time just as much as the first.
Good.
I'm sad I
thank
missed
you.
the milkshake version.
I thought of another question. That I
Open
wanted to
that
ask
next
these
beer
guys.
and then let's.
All right.
This one's just
is
called
this,
IPA.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Say, if you open the Coca Cola, you guys probably aren't going back to work. So
Well, we're gonna open it.
Okay, good.
I'm not leaving today. Here,
I
Rich,
did.
I'll
I
have you
wanted to
pour
try
that.
it too.
What do you guys do when someone comes in and says, "Hey, do you guys have Budweiser?"
We point to our water cooler.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
That's good.
Back in the early days, I actually got so frustrated with it. I said the urinal's down the hall, and they didn't laugh as hard as I did. But
Because like I guess I don't know. A lot of places you go will have something that's similar, right? So I assume you're trying to be like, okay, well, we don't have that, but this is something in that style, or if you like this beer,
Yep.
that Pilsner. Yeah.
that's right. What you
Yeah.
what you would go with, right?
Have you drank Miller Lite? Well, then you can try this Pilsner.
I went to a brewery restaurant in Lincoln
Mm-hmm.
over the summer. I think I told you this. And the table next to us wanted a bunch of Bud Lights, and they had them. They served them Bud Lights, and I just thought that's crazy for a place that brews beer
No.
to sell other beer, and then
Yeah,
not even try to
you'll-
sell their own beer.
as long as I'm around, you won't see a Bud Light in there. It's
No.
not that I don't think it's made well.
It's
It's
just
hard
not what
to
you're
make.
into, yeah.
It's just not something we want.
Oh, I've done the tour. Like I've seen the brewing process. It is horribly complex. Like it's the computers and so they've taken the human element out of the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
all computers and there's like 3 dudes sweeping the floor and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, So, all right, tell us about this one, because this one just says IPA on it.
Yeah, so when we started back in 2015, it was our wheat, which is actually the go-to for the Bud Light drinkers, I guess. I think that's still probably the one that they go to the most. The Pils isn't on more than once or twice a year, unfortunately.
They
That
can
might
taste the
change.
hops in pills, so
Yeah.
they like the wheat.
Pils is stylistically more hoppy, so wheat, super low, 19 IBU. So we started with wheat, milk stout, which is popular for us, IPA, so this beer, and what the heck's the other one?
Smash.
Smash, our single malt and
Cascade.
single hop. So this one, it took about 2.5 years. I finally got it where I was like, okay, that doesn't suck. So this is where it landed, and then I started changing it again. We had a different like CTZ in there, and I'm like, nobody's into CTZ right now. So we added that Michigan Copper locally. I was trying to figure out a way to factor in a lot of local hops into this, kind of showcase what we could do in Sioux Falls and the surrounding area. Yeah, I mean, it's 5 different hops: Warrior, Cascade, Centennial, Michigan Copper, and Simcoe. And I'm not going to say it's going to stay like this forever.
Yeah.
Some batches are like super refreshing, super crisp. Some batches I'm like, you know what, we need to change this thing. I'm just, like I said, I'm never satisfied with it, but I know Ryan can speak. It's one of his go-tos. We sell a lot of this beer. This is our number 1 made beer.
It did get better when I started brewing
Yeah,
back
that's
there,
true.
I think.
I would agree with that because then
Weird.
I don't have to be there.
Nice.
Pure coincidence.
That's
really.
weird how that happens.
So those are like some granddaddy hop names that you were mentioning, other
Yes.
than the one,
Yeah.
the Michigan or whatever you said. But yeah,
Simcoe, yeah, that's...
this to me it smells like when you walk into a brewery and they're brewing beer. You know what I mean?
That's
Like there's
such a
that
good
smell.
smell.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
So there's some wheat in there, and that's one thing maybe.
Little white
I
wheat.
don't know. I'm trying to figure out where do I go. So we might do a 5-barrel batch just for fun. Pull some of the dry hops because there's quite a few dry hops in it. Pull that out, put it in the boil, make it a little bit more bitter, a little more clear, a little more head retention, aroma. Just try to tweak it up a little bit so it's more refreshing. Because that's kind of, I'm almost going back to the West Coast now after all the New England craze.
What have I told you?
I know, right?
Like every once in a while, you're
Yeah.
just hungry for a Pine Coney 110 IBU beer.
Yep.
Sure.
And they're hard to find anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Surly's got Yummy Bear, which I happen to like, but
What
other
are
than
the
that,
IBUs on this? What do you think? I mean, are we in the 80s?
I don't know.
We have it listed at 75,
Yeah.
but
Close.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not IPU guy or IPA
IPA, yeah.
guy. What do you think of this of the IBUs? In
No,
this?
I think it's really good. Like I said, I've gotten better at just making sure that I do order an IPA when I go out to a brewery. And then of course here it seems like we're drinking IPAs all the time.
I hold him down and just pour it in his mouth.
We do.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I just mean in the office in general, not necessarily on the show.
Yeah.
On the show too, but yeah, no, I really think it's good. There's certain times that I feel like, man, I just need an IPA right now, and this would
I call
satisfy
that waking
me.
up.
Yeah, I call that waking up.
Yeah. Lunch beer.
yeah,
Yeah,
not to
lunch
sound like woe is me. I go into like a restaurant in Sioux Falls that sells probably our number 1 retail account, especially for IPA, and can confidently order an IPA, but just for my taste of what I'm craving right now, what do we do next level,
Yeah.
you know?
I like it. I think
Yeah.
it's as IPAs go, it's very approachable.
Yeah.
If for 75 IBUs, it's not that bitter.
No.
It
Well,
really is.
no, there's
you get a little bit
quite
of
a
it,
bit of
but
flavor.
There's a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah.
And IB is a very outdated term. I think they wish they'd get rid of it. I do see some newer breweries using like moderate to other levels instead of like an actual number.
Instead of the
system.
number.
It's
Yeah.
not relative to anything anymore. So
I think what we found on some of these is like, okay, so I got close on my guess. If it had been above or below, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some that we drink. You're like, no way, this is 100. What was the one? It was 101.
Yeah, there was one that was like
over
it was
100.
way high on the IBUs, but it
Like,
was
no.
it was just it wasn't that bitter.
No, but then you drink like Pliny the Elder, and it is
Yeah.
super bitter.
Yeah, when you go to Vegas, remember your friends up in Sioux Falls.
yeah, we've got a triple IPA that's 100 IBU, but you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Can you just get it there at the?
It just ran out, but
Yeah.
it'll be back eventually.
I think
Yeah.
we do. I know Quentin wants to work on like a true 100 IBU
Yes.
West Coast, probably 7-ish%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I'll
That's
be
your
there.
style all day
bitter,
long. right?
something bitter and refreshing. We did a pale ale called Smart Casual. Rhino named that one, and just did Cascade and Azaka hops, and there was no dry hops. Just boil and whirlpool. Just wanted that bitterness and that clean, crisp, refreshing.
That's the opposite of what people are mostly doing. So
Right.
that's kind of fun.
I miss that hot pucker you used to get when you drink a nice IPA.
Yeah.
You're
going to get there too,
I
Rich.
know.
Don't worry.
In the
You will.
short amount of time we've done this, we talked about this like 3-4 episodes ago, like which is like the fad of some of these like brute IPAs. We saw brute IPAs for like 3 months and then they were gone. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden everybody did them and then nobody did them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like that. And I have a feeling it'll cycle through again. That's
Oh, yeah.
I
think it all
really
comes
like
around.
the mountain IPAs that we tried.
Oh, yeah. Those
Yeah.
are kind of fun too. Yeah. It's neat how it changes. That's one of the fun things about these places.
I'm
you
getting
know?
there. I'm getting there like stouts. So
Well, we'll drink that one off air.
yes, we will.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we will. All right. So last question. Like, give me the next. So you're almost at 5 years. What's the next 5 years?
Oh man, I have no idea.
There's something awesome about that, though.
Yeah. No, when we opened, I had a very specific vision in mind, like production, do this, grow big. You know, a couple breweries in town are doing that right now, and now I'm like, do I want to work that hard? Because after talking to them, it's like, they're working their butts off, but they're not really making anything more than they could if they just had a retail spot. So it's like, I kind of want to enjoy my life and be passionate about what I'm doing. And I think if you just overwork yourself just to grow big, you're missing out on something. So we'll see where we end up. Like I said, we've not grown too much. We're certainly growing like in the amount that we're brewing, but in the space, we're right where we are, since day one. So
From a brewer standpoint, what do you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Wow, that's a tough one.
I will say he just brewed his first batch start to finish
I
without
did do
me
that.
there,
That happened.
Oh,
which is
interesting.
awesome.
Okay.
That's a new landmark step for
Yep.
WoodGrain.
This guy has trust issues, and it's been,
He gave you the keys.
took a
Yeah.
year for me to sort of wedge my way in there. It was
He might have been looking in the window, but he wasn't in there.
He's peeking in.
Yeah.
So, like, he wasn't here. Like, what would your pie in this guy? Like, I so want to try this.
I'm fascinated with automation, so and I've not really had many opportunities to really see it done in person. So, like a canning line would be like operating a canning line would be just on that list probably just because I love the automation aspect. Just working in a warehouse sort of scenario. I don't know. That's a tough one. I've done a lot in the last 2.5 years that I really wanted to do.
How about from a brewing standpoint? Is there anything you haven't done brewing yet that you want to do?
Like a style or a...
Yeah.
We've done everything, really. I would love to see more loggers come in and out of our place, but they're so finicky and labor-intensive on the back end. I'm pretty content with what we're doing right now, other than, sometimes it feels a little cramped, but the payoff sort of makes that worth it.
Nice.
Okay, so we end each episode with Untapped.
Yep, we do.
We look on Untapped and we see.
Oh, boy.
Oh, here we go. All right. So let's start with the Pilsner first. And a lot of these, I think, just because you don't package, like it is just people coming into the brewery. It's Pilsner, 205. It's Veneer Pilsner. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Veneer Pilsner, 205 check-ins. What do you think?
Holy cow, that's a small sample.
It's a small.
for us.
It's a small sample. Yeah.
I would say 3.89.
372.
God, Dolan's so close. 379.
Nice,
Close.
nice.
So the beer I just went back to, the Carnivale IPA, which
I figured I left that one over there for you.
Right? I appreciate that. The Carnivale IPA, 387 check-ins.
Okay. That's higher.
Oh, of course it's higher.
454.
That's too high.
4.31.
4.15.
Okay.
So
I could see
really
that.
good, though. That's really good.
Well, you know where I'm rating it then.
I know you are.
It's a
yeah.
it's a
yeah.
5 for Dolan.
Yeah. All right, and then the IPA. Here we go. 1,432 check-ins. Some more.
Yeah. I wonder what's the biggest checked-in beer for you guys on Untapped?
That
Is
one.
that it?
Probably.
Okay.
I think this one. I think the IPA.
Yeah, or milk stout.
IPA mixed out.
Yeah.
One of the two.
I'll kick back over just to wood grain and we'll see. So the IPA, what do you think?
4.27.
I want to say 3.81.
3.70.
All right.
To be fair, like I said, for 2.5 years, it was not what it is now.
Nope.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
The milk stout has just barely less check-ins at 14.22, and it's a 3.88. Ironically, hey, you drank that one time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've drank some of these beers before.
There you go. 3.5 on that
Yeah.
one.
There you go.
There you go. So, all right. I would drink this Carnivale IPA all day long.
I know you would.
And then Dolan would have to drive me home.
That could happen. Wow. Well, this is fun.
Yeah, so thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope
Yeah, you answered a lot of
appreciate coming
questions
in.
we
Yeah.
we always just ask each other and we never have the answers to, so we don't know what we're doing.
Did
But.
you look up the Coca-Cola?
No, we
Yeah,
should
let's-
look
Yeah,
this
look
up.
that one up.
So,
haven't opened it yet.
so Aaron told me that we shouldn't talk about this one because
It doesn't exist,
It
he
doesn't
told me.
available
Yeah,
yet. Don't
doesn't-
talk about
doesn't
it.
exist.
No, that one's available. That's
You
been
just
out
can't
for a
get it
while.
in this container, is what I was told.
That's
Maybe.
not necessarily true.
We opened it up to Growlers, but I think the keg's about dead, so
Is it
won't
really?
be an issue.
Wow.
Well, then we should probably drink it.
We do have some in there yet, but it won't be tapped, I think. I'm leaving that up to Quentin on that one. But
Got to be new because 131 check-ins,
Yeah.
4.48, so almost a
Holy
4.5.
smokes.
On 131, that's legit.
So that's a lot of fives.
That's a lot of fives.
And one
it's
person that got scared of the ABV.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
bottle. Oh, so okay, so cans you're looking at 4.5, draft just over 4.5, and then tasters 4.3. So tasters, people that don't know what they're drinking, they're
Just trying
they
it.
just want to try it. Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
guessing most
It's
people
a
just
good
go
distinction, though, between the drafts, the bottles, the cans, the tasters. Yeah.
It's kind of
Right.
fun how the analytics have changed on Untapped in the last year or so. It's really ramped up, which is nice.
And we never looked at that before, but it's interesting that
Yeah.
people that are seeking that out versus people that have no idea and just try it for the first time.
Well, it's fun because you can use it to find places. Like if you're in a different city, I think you can even get like a Lyft or an Uber through there now. So
can.
Yeah.
You can.
pretty cool.
They're tapped again?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Through
know
the through the Untapped app, you can.
Yeah, if they don't pay for the business side of it, I like to look at what's being drank there so I know if I should go or not.
Exactly.
So you don't
So-
waste the money on a lift.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, fellas, I appreciate it. This was
Yeah, thank
it's
you
been
guys.
A lot of fun.
We'll
so-
pretend you drove all the way down here just for this.
just for us.
Yeah.
because that's how popular.
And the other stuff is gravy, I guess.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Brian, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's drink that. Let's drink that stout.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.